Te whatalofa whawhelo atu I lo tau alofi mai mo whawhongat I le nei fwoi whapoponga tātou proklama nei o le Samoa Matters. Welcome once again to yet another episode and video for this Samoa Matters podcast. And I hope you do like the content so far. And if you do, please like and share and also subscribe. It'll help me in improving the content overall and also in future videos. Now, in a previous episode, I deferred analyzing Makau or Matau from Makau and Tamatau, the Samoan word for right hand or right side. Well, Makau or Matau is the subject for much of this episode. Again, the preference of Samoa Matters is the K style or the K pronunciation because of its originality. The word Makau is Samoan for fish hook. And the same word, having the same meaning and spelling, is shared by several Polynesian languages, including, of course, Samoan, Tahitian, Tongan, and Hawaiian, to name a few. The shared heritage and history of the Polynesians make this true. However, in other contexts, connotations, and nuances of Makau among these languages, the spelling does change slightly. The Makau today is pervasive, ubiquitous, in all its different depictions, and mostly as ornaments or island jewelry and decorative replicas. And I think Maui's fishhook in Moana perhaps has a role to play in this Makau popularity and resurgence. According to Moana pundits, the Makau is a symbol of strength, prosperity, safe passage, etc. among the Polynesians. However, I'm going to focus my discussion of the Makau and its role mostly within the Samoan culture and language, and using other Polynesian languages for comparative and contrastive purposes. Incidentally, the Moana filmmakers have said that they studied and researched the Samoan culture more than other Polynesian cultures for the movie Moana. And though the Makau is portrayed in Moana more as a symbol, talisman, or fetish, it does actually represent more in real life within the Samoan language and culture. And I hope, therefore, my fellow Samoans will at least find this video interesting, if not informative. Now, first, let me bring back the canoe, since it is closely associated with the Makau in the fishing context, of course. Again, Makau or Taumatau for right hand or right side originates with the canoe, the right side of the canoe, that is. But the etymology goes beyond that, all the way to the fishhook, the Makau. Now, before I continue, let me say that there are two common pronunciations of Makau in Samoan. We have Makau with a long vowel sound, as in fishhook, Makau, and Makau, a short vowel sound, as in Makau or Taumatau. Makau or Makau, I still posit that they both share the fishhook as their common source and origin, and I'll expound on that in the course of the video. So, Makau, using the K style, is the same as Iku I Makau. That means the side of the Makau. They literally means the side of the Makau. In other words, the side of the fishhook, the right side. Why? Well, because that's the side at which the fisherman fishes. That's the side where he lowers his fishhook and fishes. Yeah, that's where he pulls the line with the Makau. Not the ama side. As you can see, it's intuitive and it's busy. It's messy, especially with the ama and also these two beams or spars. These are called iako or yato, and they connect the hull to the outrigger, to the ama. And so again, Makau is literally side of the fish hook. That's the side of the hook. The fishhook is our protagonist, our hero. So remember that as we go through this video. Think Maui with his fishhook. Let me digress and say something that's related and yet interesting, if not profound. In this analysis, I'm going to cite and make a few references to the Samoan Bible. Not so much for its spiritual message context, but more in its role as a language and semantics text. In fact, the Samoan Bible is always a recommended text for studying and learning Samoan. Samoans, therefore, being mostly Christians, hence Bible believing, would hopefully find my references interesting and instructive. Now, back to fishing, canoes, and Makau, ironically in the Bible. The first Bible reference is an incident in John, the Gospel of John, 21, the first few verses where the disciples had been fishing all night and didn't catch any. Then came Jesus and told them in verse 6 to, quote, cast the net on the right side of the ship, unquote. Yes, the Makau side, the fishing side. And of course, we all know what happened. The disciples caught more fish than they were able to haul in from the Makau. Now, whether that's a coincidence or not, the significance of the right side, again, Makau, is still amusing and amazing for our purposes. Linguistically speaking, this incident is perhaps even more interesting and more fascinating because the admonition by Jesus to, quote, cast the net on the right side of the ship, unquote, is translated in Samoan as, quote, ina lafoia le upenga I le tu I matau o le va'a, unquote. Yes, right side is itu I matau, or iku I makau. It gets even more interesting. Itu I matau is used in the older versions or editions of the Bible. A more recent edition uses, you guessed it, tau matau. And so it has this, ina lafoia le upenga I le tu tau matau o le va'a. And I just happen to have my Bibles, yes, plural. I've got 4. So these 3 editions use itu I matau for the right side of the ship. This one, the more recent edition, uses tau matau. And I thought it was interesting to illustrate and be a good example of the evolution of language, at least the Samoan language, and let alone by and through the Bible as the text. The semantics of Makau, again, fishhook, suggest its common role and significance within Polynesia. After all, the ocean is the proverbial backyard of the Polynesians, and fishing is their common vocation, if not their favorite pastime. Furthermore, we find the cognates of Makau even in the same context of canoeing and fishing in other Polynesian languages. Cognates, by the way, are words with the same linguistic derivations, often from the same root or word. So, for example, the starboard side, or Makau in Samoan, in some Polynesian languages are similar, if not the same. And so, again, notice the prevalence of Makau or matau in these words that I'm going to give. The words from other Polynesian languages for the starboard side or the right side of the canoe. Samoan, of course, is Makau or Kui Makau. Hawaiian is Akau with the M elided. Tongan is Tomatau. Tahitian is also Akau, like Hawaiian, or Atau. And Maori is Katau or Matau. Interestingly enough, right hand in Hawaiian is Lima Akau, and Tongan is Nima Tomatau. Maori, Matau, and so on and so forth. Now, here's a kicker. Hawaiian for right side, again, is Akau, and the same word for the north side. Samoan for right side is Makau. And the north is this, Maku. Maku, that's north. And Samoan, Maku or Matu, which is an obvious cognate of Makau. Languages evolve. No, and in Samoan, there's another E word, elision, which plays a role in altering and modifying words. It's a very common concept and process in Samoan. Elision is the omission of one or more sounds in a word. And with Maku, the second A of Makau is elided. So hence Maku. But believe it or not, it still traces its origin back to Makau, following these language patterns among the Polynesians. Let's continue to belabor our Makau and Canoe subtext, shall we? One of the meanings that I mentioned or alluded to in the previous video is the lave, the hook, or the Makau, as a cutting implement. When I talked about the nifo'oti, the knife used in the fire knife dance, the hook or the lave, the Makau, or the hook look-alike at the end of the knife, as the specific reference. Now, in the Bible, again, which happens to be where we find old and obsolete archaic words, the axe, the tool for chopping or cutting wood, in Luke 3:9, quote, "And now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees," unquote. The common standard and modern Samoan word for axe is koi, a toi, following the K and the T style. And yet it's not used to translate the axe in that Bible verse. It is translated as matau or Makau. O lo'o tū nei fo'i le matau I te fu'e o la'au. Again, using the Makau in its cutting connotation and nuance, as I mentioned. And all these 4 editions of the Bible, they use the same word, matau or Makau. Yet again, the Makau fishhook is our hero. So let's look specifically at Starboard next, at least strictly from its English significance to begin with, and then eventually link it to the Samoan meaning and relevance. The word starboard is from an Old English word steerboard, S-T-E-O-R-B-O-R-D, which literally means steer board, S-T-E-E-R, board. In the past, before boats had engines, the starboard, or the right side of a boat, was the steering side. That's the side where they would have the long oar paddle to steer the boat. Likewise, in the Samoan canoe, in the case of the Samoan canoe, the right side is the steering side with the foi, or paddle. Paddle is foi. And steer is uli. Now, you put those together, we have foiuli. So just plus, we have foiuli. And literally, the steering battle. And incidentally, is also the Samoan word for the steering wheel of your car. See the connection? Now you learn another interesting etymology, right? So when you're driving, the same word for your steering wheel of your car is also the steering paddle for the canoe. The purpose of that paddle is to, again, when its role of steering the boat. Now, here's a personal, my own observation and postulation. Kind of a little out of the topic, but nonetheless still relevant. From steer, S-T-E-R, to steer, to star, as in starboard, is profoundly interesting in the context of Polynesian navigation and migration of the past as they traversed the biggest ocean, when they had to use literally the stars to steer or navigate their canoes and boats in their epic migrations. Now, let's link the starboard, the right steering, and the Makau side to one of the most common and important customs and traditions among the Samoans, the sauwhai. Sorry, my board is getting cluttered, but let me see if I can squeeze this here. Sauwhai. Or title installation or title bestowal. Now, many members of the Samoan diaspora can relate to this because they have traveled, or you have traveled home, usually around Christmas and New Year's, for this kind of almost like an annual pilgrimage, to have their titles installed and bestowed by their families. Again, commonly known as sauwhai. The other words for sauwhai are whafotutupu, or simply coronation. Second one is nofo, or to sit, a synonym of sauwhai, which actually suggests to preside. Other words include whafotu o va'ulu, whafotu o va'oli'i, literally the initial launching of the chief's canoe, or va'a, meaning that the recipient has officially become one of the chiefs or one of the captains. And then there's this word, sau I Makau. One of those words sound familiar? So it's sau I Matau or Makau. I'll just use Makau, Matau. Sau I Matau. Again, reference to the Makau side of the canoe. And this literally means having made it safely or having reached the Makau side, the right side of the boat. It's a metaphor for having bestowed a matai title or chiefly title, and as an extended metaphor, the recipient of the title and honor of being a matai is now seated. Nofo. The word is nofo or sauwhai. Seated at the Makau side or the starboard side. And he or she is now ready to guide, maneuver, navigate, and to steer the canoe, which is the symbol for the family, the ainga. So he or she is ready to steer and guide his or her family, having bestowed the title in this sauwhai ceremony or tradition. And sau I Makau, you've made it to the Makau side. You've done your kokua, your tautua, your serving your family, and now you've been given this authority to steer the boat, steer your family, to guide the family. And the word right, as in the right side, could not be more applicable and relevant and appropriately nuanced. A reminder to steer that canoe right versus wrong. Now, here's an important probing question, though. Could Makai, as one of the most proprietary Samoan words also originate and has its etymology in Matau or Makau. Matai, Makau. Makau, Matai. Makai, Makau. Matai, Matau. I submit, I posit, I hypothesize, and propose that it is. You can quote me, Lele Tumua, on that. Now, the traditional expression for our Alanga Upu segment also has the canoe as its source. As I mentioned previously, that many of the Samoan Alanga Upus are drawn from different sources, including canoeing, the ocean, fishing, etc. And likewise, this one. Listen for the two sides of the canoe mentioned in this expression, this alanga upu. And it goes like this. Tauama pa ia mamalu ai lafo I matau le whātō whala inga. It basically means keep or set aside our traditional honors and pa'ias and mamalus and prestige status on the ama side, the left side here. Let's take the whātō whala inga, or discourse, dialogue, conversation, over on the matau side, on this side. Why? Well, don't conflate tauama with tauama. T-A-U, tau, tauama, as I suggested, a name for the side of the ama. This one is tauama, T-A-O, which is short for tatau, which means to hold or press something down. And so when you're saying to have these pa'ias and mamalus and honors to tau the ama, tau ama, now the canoe is a central symbol in this metaphor. You're saying, basically saying to keep those here on the ama side and hold the ama down so that the canoe doesn't flip. Basically, let's not rock the boat. And we rock the boat often by insisting or imposing these traditional pa'ias and mamalus. Sometimes these, some people can still use them as advantage or leverage. And so the Alanga Upu is saying, keep them here to stabilize the canoe. Let's move the dialogue, the conversation over on the more open side, free and open, the matau side. And therefore we'll have an open discussion, deliberation. And also by keeping our malus here, now we become more, deal on a more equal level on this side. And the other significance of having the dialogue here on the matau side, because it's open, not only open and free, but also this is the fishing side. This is where you get your fish. Again, a symbol of maybe after all, we're going to have a fruitful conversation. We're going to have a fish. We're going to end this exchange or this dialogue, this conversation with a good, satisfactory resolution to maybe something that they're trying to mend. They're trying to reconcile these two sides that are conversing. And so that's the meaning of Tauama pa ia mamalu ai lafu matau whātō whala inga. Now, you can also hear this, hear some of the whailaungas and orators use it in a church setting, maybe in a church hall, with an added phrase for more nuance and meaning. And they would often say this: "Tau ama utu pa ia, ma malu e lafo I matau whātua whala inga ai ale atua malona whinangalo." Which basically, again, set aside our ba'ia, earthly honors, whatnot. Let's bring the conversation. Let's deal. Let's converse. Let's talk on a more equal level as children of God. Again, this is a church setting in the interest of God's will. Aiale tua malona whinangalo. And so, again, that's where another common setting in which you would hear this expression. Tauama utu paia mamamalu, lafo I matau, le whātua whala inga. Our song for this episode is called I Tai Walilia Ina O Whalongoina. It's a beautiful love song, although it's a breakup song. And I'm going to translate all three verses and the chorus, and then I'll just play and sing the first verse and the chorus. I tai walilia, I feel timid and apprehensive. Ina o whalongoina, when I heard, lele malilie o siu ainga ia ita, that your family has not been pleased with me. E tele te umaya, you didn't tell me. I wa uma ona o loina, but I already knew. Tangi o le loto, my heart cries, ai a motu sia le masaninga, that our friendship will come to an end. Chorus, whanonolo loto, I am saddened. Ai a motu sia lo te pale auro, that my gold headband is going to break. Ta lo for the wha'awo, pity that our friendship, ai a ngoto le whetuao, that is going to end like a shining star that will eventually set. To wha'o dear, goodbye my dear, ole a o malolo. I rest my case. Second verse. Ele ngalo ilo ulu, I won't forget in my mind lota va mamena tutupu, the things that have happened between us. No, o maya oi, I brought you tu fa'alele sio nu, and had taken care of you, good care of you in my village. Of course, ainga. Talwailo musu, because I did not want, is a timu ai maululu, a drizzling rain, which basically he's saying that he didn't want something that was not as serious. He wanted real rain and downpours, I guess. Masia tawo, and our friendship, ne ave faselemutu, that it might come to a sudden end. Third verse, Sa'ufapea, I had thought, watasi lava le maname, that I was the only one. Tuli tuli au pu, se tau le unga pe wha'apewhea, I pursued you till the end and see what happened. Ole ne wa e ainu mea, now you have broken up with me. You've quit on me. Away I tai aya afu I le tauvalea. Poor me, that I'm going to be shrouded with shame. Fa'ano la la ulota ai amo sialo te pale aro. Ta lo fai le fa'o ai angoto le fetua o to fa'o e dia ole a o ma lolo. Tofa oi dia, ole a o ma lolo. Tofa oi dia, ole a